Poem 3. Mending Wall by Robert Lee Frost. Summary. Mending Wall by Robert Frost is a reflective and thought-provoking lyric poem that delves into the themes of human connection, tradition, and the boundaries that exist between people. The poem unfolds as a dramatic monologue, with the speaker conversing with his neighbor while they engage in the annual task of repairing the stone wall that separates their properties. The central tension of the poem arises from the differing philosophies of the two neighbors. One neighbor is a proponent of the old adage, "Good fences make good neighbors," while the other questions the necessity of the wall, suggesting that something there is that doesn't love a wall. This philosophical divide becomes symbolic of the broader contrasts in human relationships and the desire for separation versus the yearning for unity. The speaker begins by describing a force, an unnamed something, that disrupts the wall. This force causes the ground to swell, pushing the stones out of place and creating gaps that are easily passable. The speaker reflects on the hunters who have caused damage to the wall in pursuit of their quarry, emphasizing the natural impermanence of boundaries in the face of external influences. These gaps, however, are not apparent until the arrival of spring, the mending time, when the neighbors unite to repair the wall. As the neighbors work side by side, the poem portrays the physical act of mending the wall as a sort of outdoor game. Stones are passed between them, some as heavy as loaves of bread, others as round as balls. The act of repairing the wall becomes a shared ritual, highlighting their cooperative effort while subtly commenting on the arbitrary nature of the divisions they maintain. The speaker's perspective becomes more introspective as he questions the necessity of the wall. He points out that his apple orchard and his neighbor's pine trees will never cross the boundary to encroach on each other's territory. The speaker's curiosity grows, and he wonders aloud whether the adage "good fences make good neighbors" holds true. He humorously ponders whether cows might be a valid reason for walls, but since neither of them keeps cows, this rationale seems inadequate. The speaker contemplates the origins of the wall, asking what it is meant to enclose and who it might offend. He asserts that there is an intangible force that resists the idea of boundaries and wants them to come down. The mention of elves introduces a touch of whimsy, suggesting that even magical beings are not bound by walls. However, the speaker refrains from imposing his perspective on his neighbor, hoping that his neighbor might eventually question the necessity of the wall himself. The poem closes with the neighbor's steadfast adherence to tradition. He is portrayed as a stone savage armed who clings to the saying that good fences make good neighbors. This repetition underscores the neighbor's refusal to engage with the speaker's thoughts and reinforces the idea that the wall serves as a physical and symbolic boundary that they continue to uphold despite the speaker's contemplations. In Mending Wall, Frost masterfully captures the complexities of human relationships and the tension between tradition and change. The poem encourages readers to reflect on the barriers they build between themselves and others, whether these barriers are physical, emotional, or ideological. The act of mending the wall becomes a metaphor for the ongoing negotiation between division and connection, ultimately inviting readers to consider the value of both. Through its vivid imagery and thought-provoking dialogue, Mending Wall remains a timeless exploration of the human condition. Multiple choice questions. 1. Robert Frost got his name from A. American poet and Scottish general. B. Scottish poet and American general. C. American poet and German general. D. German poet and American general. 2. Who were involved in mending the wall? A. The hired men by the speaker. B. The speaker and his friend. C. The speaker's friend. D. The speaker himself. 3. Who owned the apple tree? A. The speaker. B. The speaker's friend. C. Both the speaker and his friend. D. None of the above. 4. The poet talks about season again and again in the poem. A. Spring. B. Summer. C. Autumn. D. Winter. 5. Mending the Wall is a good example of A. Sonnet. B. Lyric. C. Dramatic monologue. D. Narrative poem. Extra MCQs. 1. Mending Wall is a poem written by A. Robert Frost, B. William Wordsworth, C. Emily Dickinson, D. Langston Hughes. 2. What themes does Mending Wall explore? A. Nature and animals, B. Love and romance, C. Human connection and boundaries, D. Technology and progress. 3. The poem is presented in the form of A. Sonnet, B. Epic, C. Dramatic monologue, D. Limerick. 4. What is the central tension in the poem? A. Conflict between two nations, B. Disagreement over property ownership, C. Philosophical divide between neighbors, D. Quest for adventure. 5. One neighbor believes in the idea that good fences make good neighbors. What does the other neighbor question? A. The value of friendship, B. The necessity of boundaries, C. The importance of wealth, D. The need for a larger property. 6. The disruption of the wall is caused by A. Strong winds, B. Earthquakes, C. An unnamed force, D. The hunter's actions. 7. When are the gaps in the wall most noticeable? A. Winter, B. Spring, C. Summer, D. Autumn. 8. How is the act of mending the wall depicted in the poem? A serious and somber task, B. A magical ritual, C. An outdoor game, D. A dangerous chore. 9. The speaker questions the neighbor's belief about walls and boundaries during which season? A. Spring, B. Summer, C. Autumn, D. Winter. 10. The speaker wonders if the mention of elves could explain the force behind the wall's disruptions. This introduces a touch of A. Sarcasm, B. Whimsy, C. Fear, D. Mystery. 11. The neighbor clings to the saying good fences make good neighbors out of A. Stubbornness, B. Fear of change, C. Respect for tradition, D. Rebellion. 12. The speaker uses what type of trees to represent himself and his neighbor? A. Apple and pine, B. Oak and maple, C. Willow and cedar, D. Fir and spruce. 13. What does the speaker suggest about boundaries and barriers in human relationships? A. They are unnecessary, B. They are permanent, C. They are essential, D. They are easy to overcome. 14. The poem Mending Wall encourages readers to reflect on A. Political issues, B. Environmental concerns, C. Personal beliefs, D. Human connections and divisions. 15. The act of mending the wall serves as a metaphor for the ongoing negotiation between A. Peace and war, B. Dreams and reality, C. Division and connection, D. Nature and civilization, B. Short questions. 1. What does the speaker mean by something there is that doesn't love a wall? When the speaker in Mending Wall utters the phrase, something there is that doesn't love a wall, he is alluding to a force, both natural and metaphorical, that seems to resist the idea of division and separation. This force challenges the notion that good fences make good neighbors. The speaker is suggesting that there's an innate impulse in the world that opposes the erecting of barriers, whether physical or metaphorical. This something can be seen as the inexorable influence of nature or the human spirit that strives for unity and interconnectedness. It's a force that asserts itself through the disruption of the wall, ground swells and fallen stones, as well as through the growth of trees and other natural elements that defy human-made boundaries. In a broader context, the speaker is grappling with the deeper implications of isolation and division. By invoking this mysterious force, the speaker is questioning the necessity of the wall and pondering whether the act of dividing oneself from others truly aligns with the universal forces that promote growth, connection, and understanding. The phrase encapsulates the poem's exploration of the tension between the human desire for separation and the forces that encourage unity and mutual understanding. 2. Why do two neighbors meet beyond the hill in spring? The two neighbors meet beyond the hill in spring as part of an annual tradition to repair the stone wall that separates their properties. In Robert Frost's Mending Wall, spring is the mending time when they come together to mend the gaps and rebuild the wall that has been disrupted over the course of the year. This ritual symbolizes the cooperative effort required to maintain boundaries and connections. Beyond the practical aspect of repairing the wall, their meeting signifies a shared acknowledgement of the cyclical nature of life, the changing seasons, and the inevitability of both growth and disruption. It's a moment of connection between two individuals who hold differing philosophies regarding the wall but come together to uphold tradition. The act of meeting beyond the hill also underscores the idea of journeying beyond one's immediate territory to engage with others. Spring, traditionally associated with renewal, provides a backdrop for their renewal of contact and shared responsibility. In this way, the spring meeting encapsulates the complex interplay between division and unity, reflecting the human experience of negotiating boundaries and relationships in the face of natural and philosophical forces. 3. Why does the speaker say there is no need for a wall in between two estates? The speaker in Mending Wall questions the need for a wall between the two estates because he perceives a lack of practical justification for its existence. He observes that the physical attributes of their respective properties, his apple orchard and the neighbor's pine trees, make it unlikely that the two will encroach upon each other's space. The speaker recognizes that nature itself has already established a clear separation between their lands. His apple trees will not venture into the neighbor's pine trees, and vice versa. This notion reflects the speaker's deeper philosophical stance that true boundaries are not merely physical, but also stem from an understanding and respect for each other's individuality. To him, the wall appears to be an unnecessary human imposition, a relic of tradition rather than a practical necessity. His musings echo his skepticism about the adage, "Good fences make good neighbors." Through this questioning, the speaker raises the broader idea that unity and neighborliness can exist without rigid divisions, suggesting that a true understanding of one another's differences negates the requirement for a physical barrier between them. 4. How does the neighbor justify the need for a wall? The neighbor in Mending Wall justifies the need for a wall by echoing the well-known saying, "Good fences make good neighbors." He insists on the necessity of maintaining the wall as a way to uphold tradition and to keep a clear delineation between their respective properties. To the neighbor, the wall represents a physical barrier that preserves individual boundaries and prevents potential conflicts. The neighbor's perspective reflects a more pragmatic and conventional outlook. He seems to prioritize the idea of respecting established norms and boundaries, emphasizing the value of separation and privacy. He believes that the wall provides a sense of order, ensuring that each person's property and rights are clearly defined. By repeating the saying, the neighbor suggests that the wall not only maintains distance but also fosters a sense of civility and mutual understanding between neighbors. For him, the wall symbolizes a tangible manifestation of respect for each other's space and a safeguard against potential disputes. This perspective contrasts with the speaker's questioning of the wall's necessity and reflects a commitment to tradition and established norms as a means of maintaining neighborly relations. 5. Why is the poet not happy with the spring season? The poet's discontent with the spring season in Mending Wall is rooted in the implications it holds for the mending of the wall and the restoration of boundaries. The arrival of spring signifies the time when the gaps and disruptions in the wall become apparent and need to be repaired. This annual task symbolizes the perpetuation of division and the reinforcement of separateness between the speaker and his neighbor. The speaker's skepticism about the necessity of the wall and his contemplation of unity clash with the routine of spring mending. He sees spring as a season that prompts the neighbors to engage in an activity that he questions and finds unnecessary. This contrasts with the more positive associations typically attributed to spring: renewal, growth, and vitality. The poet's dissatisfaction with spring underscores his deeper dissatisfaction with the ongoing cycle of division and the reinforcement of traditional norms. Spring reminds him of the continuation of the status quo, wherein barriers are re-established rather than transcended. Thus, his ambivalence towards spring reflects his larger contemplations on human connection, the perpetuation of boundaries, and the philosophical conflict between division and unity. 6. Elaborate two contrasting views of the speaker and that of his neighbor. In Mending Wall, the speaker and his neighbor hold contrasting views that serve as a central theme of the poem. The speaker embodies a more open-minded and questioning perspective. He questions the necessity of the wall, suggesting that something there is that doesn't love a wall. He sees the disruption caused by nature as a force that challenges the need for rigid boundaries and prompts reflection on the value of unity and shared space. The speaker is introspective and contemplative, pondering the reasons behind the wall and seeking to understand the forces that drive its maintenance. On the other hand, the neighbor represents a traditional and pragmatic viewpoint. He firmly adheres to the saying "good fences make good neighbors," asserting the importance of boundaries for maintaining a sense of order and preserving individual privacy. The neighbor is resistant to change and upholds the established norms, valuing the wall as a symbol of respect for personal space and property. The contrasting views of the speaker and his neighbor embody the broader tension between tradition and change, unity and division. They represent different philosophical stances towards human connections and boundaries, reflecting the complexities of human relationships and the various ways individuals perceive and navigate their roles within society. C. Long questions. 1. Analyze the poem as a dramatic monologue. Mending Wall by Robert Frost is a prime example of a dramatic monologue, a poetic form that involves a single speaker addressing an implied or explicit audience. The poem is constructed as a conversation between the speaker and his neighbor, as they work together to repair the stone wall that separates their properties. The monologue format allows Frost to delve deeply into the speaker's thoughts, emotions, and reflections, while also indirectly revealing the neighbor's perspective through the speaker's narration. The dramatic monologue format serves as a canvas for the exploration of contrasting viewpoints. The speaker's internal musings reveal his skepticism about the wall and his contemplation of its symbolism. His questions about the necessity of the wall, his curiosity about what it encloses, and his musings about the forces that disrupt it all contribute to a rich introspection that characterizes the monologue. Moreover, the format gives insight into the relationship dynamics between the two characters. The neighbor's repeated assertion that good fences make good neighbors is juxtaposed with the speaker's probing questions, highlighting their differing ideologies. The tension between their opposing views provides a sense of drama and conflict that intensifies the monologue's impact. The dramatic monologue also allows for a gradual unfolding of the themes. The speaker's thoughts and observations emerge gradually, painting a vivid picture of the surrounding landscape and the act of repairing the wall. This vivid imagery enhances the monologue's theatrical quality, inviting readers to envision the scene as it unfolds. Ultimately, the dramatic monologue format offers an intimate and personal insight into the speaker's inner thoughts, his interactions with the neighbor, and his contemplation of the broader themes of human connection, tradition, and the boundaries that shape our lives. Through this form, Frost creates a dynamic and engaging piece that captures the complexities of human relationships and invites readers to reflect on the multifaceted nature of human existence. 2. Describe the clash of two perspectives in the poem. Which perspective is more convincing and why? The clash of perspectives in Mending Wall revolves around the differing viewpoints of the speaker and his neighbor regarding the necessity and significance of the stone wall that separates their properties. The speaker represents a more open-minded and questioning perspective. He challenges the conventional wisdom of good fences make good neighbors, suggesting that there is an inherent force that resists the idea of division. He questions the purpose of the wall, contemplating what it encloses and asserting that it is not necessary in their specific context. In contrast, the neighbor embodies a more traditional and pragmatic viewpoint. He staunchly upholds the saying, emphasizing the importance of clear boundaries for maintaining order and neighborly relations. He believes that the wall is necessary to prevent disputes and preserve privacy. As for which perspective is more convincing, it depends on individual interpretation. The speaker's view is compelling because it prompts reflection on the forces of unity and the idea that division might not always be in the best interest of human relationships. He raises questions about the psychological and emotional effects of maintaining such boundaries. On the other hand, the neighbor's perspective has its merits as well. His emphasis on established norms and respect for personal space holds practical value. The neighbor's perspective appeals to the need for clear demarcations to avoid misunderstandings and conflicts that can arise in the absence of boundaries. Ultimately, the poem doesn't provide a clear resolution to the clash of perspectives, leaving the interpretation open to the reader. Both viewpoints contribute to the exploration of complex human relationships and the intricate balance between unity and division. The poem serves as an invitation to consider the various factors that shape our interactions with others, highlighting the intricacies of human connections and the differing perspectives that inform them. 3. Comment on the use of blank verse in the poem. Mending Wall by Robert Frost is written in blank verse, a form of poetry characterized by unrhymed lines in iambic pentameter. The use of blank verse in the poem adds depth, rhythm, and a conversational quality that contributes to its contemplative and reflective nature. The iambic pentameter, with its 10 syllables per line following a stressed-unstressed pattern, mimics natural speech rhythms. This gives the poem a conversational flow that feels as if the speaker is directly addressing the reader or the implied neighbor. The enjambment, or continuation of a sentence or phrase across line breaks, further enhances the conversational quality, creating a seamless progression of thought. The blank verse also mirrors the contrast between the traditional and open-minded perspectives presented in the poem. The neighbor, with his adherence to the saying "good fences make good neighbors," often speaks in lines with a regular, predictable rhythm. This reflects his steadfast commitment to tradition and established norms. In contrast, the speaker's lines vary more in rhythm and structure, echoing his contemplative and questioning nature. Furthermore, the use of blank verse aligns with the poem's themes of division and unity. The unrhymed lines and rhythmic patterns reflect the tension between order and spontaneity, just as the wall represents a rigid division within a natural landscape. This tension in the form mirrors the philosophical tension explored in the content. The use of blank verse in Mending Wall creates a conversational and introspective tone that suits the themes and subject matter of the poem. It captures the complexities of human interaction and thought, while also mirroring the natural world's contrasts between structure and spontaneity. The unrhymed iambic pentameter contributes to the poem's distinctive rhythm and cadence, enhancing its overall impact and conveying the philosophical exploration it undertakes. 4. Analyze the poem as a symbolic poem. Mending Wall by Robert Frost operates as a symbolic poem, where the stone wall serves as a multifaceted symbol that encapsulates broader themes and philosophical ideas. The wall is not merely a physical structure but carries metaphorical weight, representing various concepts and contrasts throughout the poem. Firstly, the wall symbolizes the divisions that exist between people, both physically and ideologically. It reflects the boundaries that people construct to define their spaces and assert their individuality. This symbolic dimension of the wall highlights the broader human tendency to create distinctions and separations, sometimes without fully considering their implications. Secondly, the wall embodies tradition and adherence to established norms. The neighbor's staunch commitment to good fences make good neighbors represents the clinging to familiar beliefs and practices. This symbolic representation underscores the tension between the perpetuation of tradition and the potential for growth through questioning and change. Moreover, the wall takes on an allegorical significance. It represents the barriers we construct that hinder understanding and connection, prompting contemplation on the necessity of these barriers. The disruptions caused by an unnamed force could symbolize the underlying universal desire for unity, challenging the rigid separation represented by the wall. In a broader context, the wall can be seen as a symbol of the human condition itself. It reflects the dichotomy between individuality and communal bonds. The poem's title, Mending Wall, captures the cyclical nature of human relationships, where divisions are repeatedly reinforced and repaired. Overall, Mending Wall is rich with symbolism, using the physical wall as a conduit to explore complex themes such as division, unity, tradition, change, and the human propensity to erect and question barriers. The poem invites readers to delve into the layers of meaning behind the wall, unveiling insights into the intricacies of human connections and the tensions between separation and togetherness. 5. What kind of language is used by the poet? Robert Frost employs a distinctive and evocative language in Mending Wall to craft a vivid and thought-provoking poetic experience. The language in the poem is accessible yet layered, combining everyday vocabulary with metaphorical richness to create a blend of realism and abstraction. Frost's language captures the essence of rural life and human interactions, lending an authentic and relatable quality to the poem. The conversational tone and use of colloquialisms mirror natural speech, making the reader feel as though they are eavesdropping on a genuine conversation between neighbors. The dialogue-like structure and the neighbor's recurring mantra, "Good fences make good neighbors," add to the colloquial atmosphere. However, Frost's language transcends mere simplicity. The poem is replete with metaphors and symbolic phrases that offer deeper insights. The phrase, "something there is that doesn't love a wall," encapsulates an intangible force and lends an air of mystery to the poem. The description of the wall as frozen groundswell, the gaps as even two can pass abreast, and the stones as loaves or balls infuses ordinary objects with a touch of the extraordinary. Frost's choice of words is carefully orchestrated to create vivid imagery. The imagery of stones, gaps, and the act of mending becomes a canvas on which the themes of separation, unity, and human connection are painted. The contrast between the neighbor's old stone savage armed and the speaker's musings on the wall's purpose further heightens the vividness of the language. The language in Mending Wall is a skillful blend of the ordinary and the symbolic. Frost's words resonate with readers due to their familiarity, while simultaneously inviting deeper contemplation through their metaphorical richness. This language style enhances the poem's accessibility, making it relatable to a wide audience, while also encouraging readers to explore the layers of meaning hidden beneath the surface. Best of luck!